it's Miracle Studio. Today we are going to decorate the lids of 3 of these small little tins. So let's see what we're going to need for the project. We're going to need the tins or the containers that you are going to decorate the lids of. Our metal that we're going to use, I'm going to use pewter on 2 of them, and the third one is this color coated aluminum. Then we're going to need Sookwang tape in the end to adhere everything together. We're going to use or need our work surfaces, a hard surface, a paper stump as well, a paper pad as well as the soft surface, and a couple of metal embossing tools, a stylus, paper stump, there's the paper stump, and some Teflon tools. I might just grab some other tools while I'm busy. As for the other things we're going to do or need is I'm going to do decoupage on one of them. So one of the lids is going to have this napkin, and with that I'm going to use the podge as the decoupage medium. We're going to need some stamps to stamp on some of the pewter, and any stamps will do. The main key is to use the StazOn stamp ink. I'm going to use jet black. You can use any other color that you would like to as part of the stamps. And I've pulled out a couple of Sharpies just for in case I would like to add some color on the end. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to go or where this is going to go, so let's get started. These tins comes with a handy dandy inner. I'm not sure if your container is going to have that, but what I've done is I've pulled them out and I have just used a pencil and I have traced the circles so that I know where to cut, and that will be our next step. We're going to start off with the stamping, just because the StazOn ink needs a couple of minutes to dry. And as I was cutting out the second circle, I realized I'm not going to need a circle. I didn't really need to do that because I'm just going to cut this out and I'm going to cut out the butterfly. So, but well, the circle is done now. So when it comes to stamping, again, you need to make sure that it is the StazOn stamp pad, and I'm just going to load my stamp. And when I work with bigger stamps like this, especially the ones that don't have a mounting on, I just prefer doing it this way, you know, padding the ink pad. So next step is I'm just going to place this more or less where I want it. And I'm going to put it off to the side, and I'm going to press this down and hope it gets a good transfer. If you have one of those, I think Misties or whatever, you can always go back in if you haven't done that, but I think this should be okay. Yes, it is. So I'm going to put this off to this side. Next one is I'm just going to stamp the butterfly. The butterfly is easier to load this way than what the other stamp was. And I'm going to put it on the around about the bottom area, just so that I still have a little bit of the top that I can use in a different or another project. So the butterfly didn't transfer too well, but okay, it's done. I will come back to this one a little bit later on because I'm going to add some more script stamp as well. For decoupage, we just need to separate the napkins, and an easy way to do that is you just put the end down. And now it doesn't work. Oh, the end is folded over, that's why, but there it goes. So you just put the end down on a with tape. You can use masking tape or painter's tape, and then it just lifts it up quickly. I'll do it on this side. So when you have it down there, you just oh, seriously, now it doesn't even work. And it always works so easy. Oh my Murphy's Law, there you go. And then once you've got that going, you can just really go slow and pull them apart. Sometimes when you go fast, you actually tear your napkin. You can tear that. And because I'm just going to use this 1/4, I'm just going to cut this out, and I'm going to leave the rest there. And I'll finish it later on. Okay, so bring my lid in, and I'm just going to do Mod Podge. Usually I would decant it, but because this is such a short project, or a small area that I'm going to do, it's not going to be open very long. And just adding some Mod Podge. And then I'm going to place my napkin over where I want, and I'm going to try and get as much of the blue on here as what I can. And I'm going to work from the center, just lightly work it out. And see if there's any bubbles. This looks good. And I'm just going to tear this down by pulling this down. And then we can go in and clean up. Sometimes it tears very nicely, other times not so much. So there it went. I pull some of it out there at that area. I think there was another area. Oh, there you go. So, and that's up to you. You know, do you want to leave it like that? You can always come back in with these small pieces and you can just touch it up. I'm just going to leave it as is. And next is going to come in with another layer. And I'm starting from the center, and I'm just Mod Podging outside to the outside. And this is just to seal it. I think I will most probably just come in later on once this is dry and try and clean up. No, I actually don't think I'm even going to do that. I might just decide to color that in the end with a Sharpie. I'll see how I feel. And we're going to put that off to the side as well, and never forget to clean your brushes. What I've decided to do in the meantime was to come back in with my stamps, and I am just going to stamp the inside of the tins as well. I'm not going to do anything in the lid because, as I said, they do have that little inset. So for this one, this is a good one because it just fits. So I'm stamping the same butterfly that I'm going to use for the outside on the lid. I've stamped that now on the inside. Oh, it actually looks better on the inside than on the outside. And so that when they open the lid, there's always that little bit of element of surprise. And for the second one, I'm going to stamp this lady on the inside as well. And let's just fit it in there and press down, and you can just lift that up. So there you go. So that is done. Coming back to this stamp, I use this specific stamp is one that I use quite often, and I use it a lot, and so I mask it, and I've stamped it, and then I just roughly cut it out. And now I'm going to put this down before I stamp my next one, which is going to be the script stamp for the background. So again, I'm just loading my stamp, and then I just come in and I place it down and I stamp. Oh, I hope my pewter haven't moved with the stamp now. Let's make sure that it goes down well. Let's hope so. And let's see. Well, as close to perfection as what you can get, although not really. But yeah, so this is a way that you can mask it so that you can have two or use two stamps without the one covering this, the first stamp. So while the stamp's dry, and I would say a good 20 to 20 minutes should be sufficient. The longer you leave it, the better it's going to be, because it is metal. And although it is a solvent-based stamp pad, it can still wipe off if you use it too quickly, or wipe over it too quickly. As for this one, I think what I'm going to do is, where's my paper pad? I'm just sort of going to get a sun or a moon or a circle. I think I'll do a circle like that, and I'll just do little I don't know what you call these things. It's not really little leaves. It's not really little flames. I don't know. Just little somethings. And they are no particular shape. Some is different or fatter, some is thinner. Oops. I actually would have liked to get all the wider ends at the bottom, but well, I'm just winging it, yeah. And okay, it looks like, oh, I will fill in, it's a little bit, let's just put another one in there. Now there's way more on the one side than on the other side, but I'll fold that in. Okay, on to the next step. So we're first going to work with this one. I'm going to work on my soft surface or semi-soft surface, and I'm going to use my Teflon tip tool, and this one has a nice little ball to it, and I'm going to place it in here, and I'm just going to retrace this line. So what is really nice about this one is, as long as what you come in at a 90-degree angle, you will have a really nice and wide emboss line. So from there, you're going to go onto your hard surface, paper stump, and you're just going to flatten that out. And that was a little bit overzealous from me, the way that I went in there. So let me just quickly redo this again. So work slower than faster. And oh no, I went too wide again. No, don't tell me. You know, lately I have just, every day for me lately is one of those days, and there I just did it again. Oh, darn it. Okay, now I've showed you twice how not to do it. How's that? Oh my. Let me see if I just do it on the hard surface. There's more than one way that you can fix something. Okay, let's start from the outside now and not the inside. Yeah, this works a little bit better. And come in, flatten it with your paper stump the right way. And then once this is done, we are going to come in and we are going to refine it. I'm first going to come in with my Teflon tip tool. I don't know if I'm going to use my metal tool on this one. I'm going to start on the outside, and I'm just going to run my Teflon tip tool right up until right to the edge and sort of push it to make a nice and even line there. And come to the inside and refine on the inside. And then for this side, again, you're just going to go to the opposite side and you're going to refine on both sides of that line. And when you do your refining as well, sometimes it's just easier to move your metal and keep your stylus sort of still, and just to move your metal. Okay. I don't like the way that it looks there, so I'm just going to push that up a little bit more. And with this, you can just always sort of even your line out, because as you can see here, there's some thicker areas and thinner areas on the line. If you're okay with that, that's, you know, I mean, it's your project, you can leave it like that. But if you want to have it a little bit more consistent, and this is actually where this little burnishing, stylishing tool comes in very handy, because you can really use it to push it in and get a neat and tidy line there. When you work on the inside, it might not be as easy as what it is on the outside, but you will still be able to do that. But just be careful now that you don't go in and you squash everything that you have worked so hard on. And for this, I think I am going to push this line a little bit more. And get that rounding going there. And so I'm slowly going to push this in to make a little bit of a sharper point there. And there I just went right through my so this is things that can happen when you are working with the color-coated metals or the aluminum foils. You know that you can work through that. No, not a train smash. We can always, you know, do something with that. I'll figure out what I can do there. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next step, and that's going to be these little petals that's here. The little petals, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to, and this is just going to be a little bit of a high relief. I'm going to come in now slower, or smaller, slower. I'm going to do it a little bit smaller just so that I can keep an edge open there, and then coming from the back, and I'm going to reline it right on the inside as close to the first line that I did. And there you can see how it popped out, going onto my hard surface on the front. and I'm going to flatten it around, come in with my stylus and just refine it. So this is a traditional way of doing high relief, and then you're just going to pop it out with your paper stump. Oh, excuse me. With your paper stump, come back in, and you are going to refine it again. Oh, wrong one. Yeah. So I'll show you another one. So you're going to, and you can do this on your paper pad as well. You're going to come in and you are going to retrace it. And you're going to turn around, and then you're going to work on the back of your metal. Retrace it just on the inside of the line that you just did. Turn it around, come back onto your hard surface, flatten around with your paper stump. Let me just get this little one. Flatten around with your paper stump. Refine with your Teflon tip tool, or you can use your metal stylus as well. Personally, when I work on the colored aluminums, I prefer to stick to Teflon because the metal stylus can make a definite line there because it takes some of the color coating off. If that's a look that you're going for, that's absolutely perfect. If not, then you're just going to come, you're going to work with your paper stump again, and you're going to push your petal up and just flatten the background. And again, you can just come in with your tool and refine it. So I'm quickly going to do the rest of these, and I will see you back when they're all done. All done. And because this is so uneven, I've decided that I'm going to add some balls over there, or some spheres, with a ball and cup tool or a cup and ball tool. I never know which one to say first, the cup and ball or the ball and cup. I guess it's a ball and cup tool because you first use the ball part and then you use the cup part. Okay, and normally you would do things like that before you do the high relief, but when I was finished and I looked at my design, it just, the gaps there is just too wide for me. That one is sort of, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 3 little dots in there. And when you work with your ball and cup tool, it's I think actually I'm going to, that's a wider one, so I'm going to go in with a bigger one and a bigger one, and this is a smaller one, so I'll just go in with a smaller ball and cup tool, come back to the front, and I'm just going to cup them, and then you have this perfect little half sphere there. Okay, and also I don't just want to leave it like this, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a texture wheel and just go around the outside on my paper pad, and I've grabbed my diamond texture wheel. I'm a huge fan of texture wheels, and I'm just going to go forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backwards, and half of my wheel is off the coated aluminum because I just want a thin little border. So we can put this one off to this side. Now you can actually see it's not round anymore. Oh, and I also just stamped another stamp in there. It's your day, and it did slip, so you can see there is a little bit of a shadow, but you know, things happens. See, no, it looks good, and I will still think what I'm going to do there. Okay, so I'm going to put this one off to the side and fill it with wax later on and move on to the next one. For the lady, I'm not going to do a lot of embossing here. I'm going to do a little bit of high relief on her shoulder just to bring that out a little bit. I might just touch on the lips and then the hat. I'm just going to go around. I'm actually just going to do this on my paper pad. And I'm going to trace this little shelly thing that is there. And I just want to mark more or less where's that, because that area is a little bit, will be a little bit higher. And the next is just going to be the rim of her hat. And the ball, because that is going to be, and I'm not going to do anything else. So yeah, that I think should do it. Maybe just bring that in there. Yes, I think that, yeah, so that I can have definition between the rim and the ball of the hat. Oh, let me mark her lips. For the lips, I'm not going to do much. I'm just merely going to push it out, and that's why I'm working on the paper pad, just to give it a little bit. Oops, and now of course I just went next to her lips. Okay, I just retrace this part again so I can actually see where is her lips. Helps if you know where to do the embossing. So just do that. Perfect. And let me just push this back in. Because at the moment it looks like she has a huge, massive pimple under her lip. Okay. And on to the next one, which is going to be the shoulder. So as for the shoulder, I'm just going to use my paper stump, and I'm just going to push it out slightly, because you don't really want this to be too high. It is just to give a little bit of definition in your design. And when I work towards the outside here, I don't apply as much pressure as what I do when I get to the top part of her shoulder. And as always, you're just going to, and I think I'm just going to use this one just to give it a little bit of a, so you just have that little bit of definition over there. And I'm going to do the same with the hat. I'm going to push out the rim first. And again, I'm just using my paper stump. I'm not coming in with any other tools like I did with the high relief on this one. Do a little bit more. And again, I'm just coming in, and I'm also working careful because mine haven't rested very well yet, so there is still the possibility that I might get rid of some of my ink that's on here. Yeah, there is some definition. And now I'm going to work just to give it a little bit more softness on both my paper pad as well as my soft surface. And I'm going to do the ball of the hat now, which is going to be slightly higher than what the rim of the hat was. So I'm applying more pressure now, just so that it's higher or raise higher than the rim. Okay. And coming in, and just refining it. I've been working, I don't apply a lot of pressure where I am now so that I don't push the rim back down again. Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with my stylus and I'm going to do a definite line here between the two, just so that you can distinguish between where the two is. The stamp line is there, but that will just give it that extra little bit. And now again, I'm gonna come in with my paper stump. I'm just going to push this out, and I'm pushing out a little bit more or higher than what I did the ball of the hat, so I apply more pressure. And come in and just flatten around the outside. Refine, and I'm going to try and push that little bit out a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so this one is also, so you have the layers, you have your higher and that shoulder thing, and then you have the hat and the rim of the hat and the shoulder and a little bit of the lips. So I'm going to put this to the side and we will move on to our butterfly. For the butterfly, I'm just going to again trace it lightly with my pencil so that I just have an idea where the outline is, and we are going to cut out the butterfly. So just trace the outline, and we're just going to do sort of almost one level. Actually we can, no, I'm just going to do one level here and then turn it around. And I think what I'll do first is I will do the body, and I'm just going to use this smaller one, and this smaller one is just the Teflon tip tool. And I will refine this one, the body. Actually, I think what I'll do is this one I'm going to trace it, the sort of the proper high relief. Let me do it this way. So I'm tracing the top part of the butterfly, the wings, and so on my soft surface I'm just going to reline it on the inside. I'm going to do the same with the other one as well. And come in, flatten with my paper stump. And again, when you work, just make sure that you don't rub off the ink. How much higher do I want to go? Slightly, so I'm just pushing this out. And when you push out like this, when you think the butterfly wings is going out, so I start from the center there, or the middle from the body, and I just push it out. I don't apply as much pressure when I go to the ends, just because I know I'm going to cut that out. So I don't want it to be too high. Okay. But I do want it to have some definition. And as for the bottom two wings, we are going to do exactly the same, but we first just need to come back and tidy this one up, or the top wings up, before we move on to the bottom wings of the butterfly. While I'm waiting for the wax to heat up, I thought I might just come in and quickly cover up that hole that I've made. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a piece of the copper tape, and I'm going to place it on the inside, or on the back, inside the back, and I'm just going to work it in. So when you, and the piece doesn't want to stick. I think it's because it was hanging loose. So let me just cut that piece off and use another piece. So when you do something like this, or you break through your metal, just always fix it with the metal tape and on the back. And you need to do this before you apply wax. The reason is that if you are going to wax or add your filler before you cover the hole, the wax is going to seep through, and then it's going to go to the front, and of course then it's going to be really difficult for you to get rid of the wax on the front of your metal. Okay, I've also looked through my stash of these little orangey rusty color thingies that I have, and I thought I'm going to use one of these two, either the flower or the dot. But then I've decided on the dot, just because there is some dots there, so it will stay the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push it through the hole, and it's a little brad, so I'm just going to push it through the hole, and I'm going to open it. So usually I would do this before I even add the tape, but I wanted to show you how to do the tape, and that's the reason why I did it now afterwards. So I'm just going to cover this with tape again, just to make sure that there is no wax that's going to leak out if we're going to cover it. And you just work your tape in very nicely to cover the hole. And there you go, all fixed up. And if you don't have copper tape, when you work with copper color, you can also use the plain silver tape, metal tape, or aluminum tape that you get from your hardware store. Okay, so I'm quickly going to fill all of these with wax. And where's my lady now? Oh, here she is. Going to fill them with wax, and then I'll be back. Now we're just going to add a little bit of color to our designs. And just looking at the lid, it is very blue. I was looking at maybe the blue, and this is, I'm still going to do that. I've decided here on this rim here, I'm just going to run this blue Sharpie around there. And so once this is done, I will move on to the next step. For the butterfly, I was thinking I'm going to go with the blues, but I'm not exactly sure, so I'm just going to go in with really bright colors, and I'm going to do like I think this is a turquoise. Well, I don't know what the color is exactly. Well, I know it's turquoise, but if that's a color that they call it. And these are just Sharpie markers. They're the brush ones. I really find that they nice and easy to work with on the pewter. And I just think I actually wanted to do that in the lime green. And now I'm going to go in with the lime green. And I'm just going to color the rest of the wings. Next up is Our Lady. So all I'm going to do here is, oh, you know, now I remember what I'm going to do. Oh, I wanted to do her little beads as well, that she has on. So but now I've already got wax on. So let's see if we can do that. Okay. I'm going to use my small one. Let's see if I can make marks where I want them to be, and then pop them from the opposite side. Sorry, I know I just went all soft with my voice, but I was trying to think what I want to do. And now I'm just coming in, and this is where the little beads or the pearls is that she has around her neck. Do I miss some of them? Most probably I will. Or I have. There's another little one there. Okay. And I'm just going to come in. Where's my paper stump now? Just gives it a little bit more definition if you do have that in. And refine it. So you can, until this is adhered to your substrate, which in this case is the little tin lids, up until that point you can still come back and work on your project or your design. Well, certain things you might not be able to do, but never fear, always try and see if you can come back and work with that. Yep, there you go. That looks way better now. She's going to be in the purple and red brigade. Yep, let's do pink for the center here, the little flowers. And the shawl, I'm going to do the purple. You don't necessarily even have to put color on. You could have just, you know, left it the way that it was with no color. But sometimes I find just that little bit of a pop of color can make a difference. And I'm going to give her some red lips. She has a very pouty, or what do you call it, mouth. Ooh, she's got really bad red lipstick on. Okay. Almost looks like a heart. Well, there you go. And that's all the color I'm going to use on the lady. And next we are going to move on to our copper plated one. I grab a sanding block, and as for the copper one, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in, if I use the side with the sanding paper on, and I'm just going to sand the high lying areas, and I'm not going to sand everything off, so there will be still some of the copper on there. And this is nice when you have to do something quickly and you don't want to go in and patina and all those kind of things, that you can just grab your sanding block and work with the colored metals. And then you will expose your design that way. I mean, you can painstakingly go in and do each and every one individual, but I just think I'm going to keep it as is, as long as that I can see my spiral. And also when you work this way, there's a good possibility that you are going to sand away some of your background as well. I think there was a spot, yes, over there, and there that I did sand away some of my background, but that's perfectly fine. It gives it just that sort of rustic or grungy kind of feel. Most of it is almost sanded off. Okay, and the next step after this is just going to be, well, we're going to cut out the butterfly, and once the butterfly is cut out, we're just going to adhere it to our tins. Just wipe the dust. We haven't done any blackening or patina on these ones, and the reason for that is just because, you know, the black is there to highlight the design because of the stencil that we used. But what I would do is, once I know my Sharpies is really dry, I would come in and I would just take a piece of cotton, and these are the pads that you buy that you can clean your face with or for anything else, and I would just give it a quick little buff with it. And the wax is getting stuck there, and I will do exactly the same with the lady. And after this, you can actually go in and seal it as well before you adhere it to your tins, but I'm just going to do it now, and then I will give it a buff again afterwards, and then just seal it once it's on the tins. I've added the Sookwang tape as well as cut out the little butterfly. I did not cut out the feelers, and next I'm just going to spritz a piece of the paper towel with some alcohol, and I'm just going to give the two lids a quick wipe just to make sure that there's no stuff or oiliness or anything on there, so that the Sookwang tape can adhere. And again, I'm also going to grab my cotton, and I'm just going to buff it quickly again. And the reason why I do it now as well is just so that I can at the same time adhere the Sookwang tape to the metal, or the metal to the Sookwang tape, however you want to go. Well, I guess to adhere the two together, and so that way you know definitely that your Sookwang tape has a touch everywhere, because sometimes you do get air bubbles if you're not careful. It doesn't happen very often, and that's usually when something is not clean that you will get that. Okay, so now it starts assembling, and looking down at this as well, to the one that I've used, the just lost my train of thought again. The one where I lost my the one that I've used, the metal, the colored coated metal. Oh, there it goes, skew. Is when I look down at that, I realized I actually should have used a silver one, a silver little brad, rather than the orange one, because this one is not really noticeable. But as with everything in life, just think a little bit about it, and you know what, you will come up with a solution. And I'm just going to color it with the Sharpie. So I'm using my paper stump, and I'm just pressing all this Sookwang tape down here. I'm going to use my stylus, the plastic stylus, the back part or the eraser part, and I'm just going to smooth it around. And as you can see, it's not 100% right. On the one end it did go over a little bit, and on the opposite side, of course, it's short. But I'm just going to go in with my silver Sharpie. Looks more gray on here, but it doesn't matter. So there you go. Tin number 1 is done. And for the next one, it's just the butterfly. And once we get that part loose, we will be able to stick it down. And this can sometimes take longer than anything else, is to get this tape end to pull away. Yeah, I think oops. I think this butterfly is just going to go around there. And for this one, because I didn't cut out the feelers, I just don't have a thin black Sharpie here with me, so I'm going to be looking for my thin black Sharpie, and I will actually just add some feelers over there. And the last one is the lady, so we're going to add the lady to the tin, and then this project is all done. And basically we've done 3 little tins. That you can have. So just think about it. If you have somebody that you need to give a gift to, or if you have some spare time, and this is where this comes in very handy again, or if you have some spare time and you can do this and just keep it, and then when you need something as a gift, you have them already handmade and ready to go. And again, I'm just using this burnishing stylus, the eraser side, to make sure I get a good adhesion on the end. And for the butterfly, I will just, oops, yeah, maybe the cotton is not a good idea for the butterfly. And you can just give this one a nice polish as well. And we are all done. 3 little tins completed. Our 3 tins are done. First one is the copper colored coated aluminum. We've done a little bit of embossing or high relief on here, and then we sanded it down. Once after we filled it with wax, I broke through and I covered it with tape, fold it up, and then add the little brad in there, which I've turned silver in the meantime. The second one is the lady with the hat. We didn't add a lot of color to her. It was only the little shell as well as the red spouty lips. And of course, when you open the tin, you have the same stamp on the inside. I've also added another stamp to this first tin, and it's your day. It's always nice, a nice surprise for somebody when they open something and they see something in there. And then as for the butterfly, I've covered the lid. We did blue, and then when I was looking at that, I saw there was the parts when I tore off the napkin with the Mod Podge, that it ripped from the sides of the lid of the can, and then I've decided no, I don't like that, so I came back in and I've touched those up with the green, and I've also added the feelers there with the Sharpie. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there they are. And so now we have this colorful little butterfly. You know, look at your stamps, see which ones you can use, because when you use the stamps, you don't necessarily have to do the blackening or the patina, which is going to save you time. And it really, these little cans or containers makes nice gifts. You can put something in here and use this as the gift wrap. So thank you so much for spending time with me in the studio today. And always remember, the world of reality has its limits. The world of imagination is boundless.